everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lucy and today I'm filming one of my favourite videos ever to film. I love filming these videos every year and it is my top books of 2018. So if you're new to my channel, I usually do one of these videos every year and I'll leave a link to my previous videos of this nature in the description bar so you can check them out if you know you've read all of these books and you want to know what my favourites were from previous years. I'll leave those in the description bar. So it was really hard to pick this list, mainly because I didn't read a lot of books in 2018. I kind of went through such a reading slump and honestly I didn't read a lot of books that I truly fell in love with, and I find that that's really important for me to actually get productive with my reading. Like, I need a good streak of books that I'm really enjoying. But I have found 10 books that I absolutely loved in 2018. So before I start, please do make sure you're subscribed to this channel if you want more bookish videos. Let's get cracking with my favourite books of 2018. Okay, so number 10 is A Rogue by Any Other Name by Sarah MacLean. So this I read on my Kindle whilst I was on holiday this year, and this is a Regency romance and it's basically got all the ingredients of a classic Regency romance. I'm obsessed with romance. If you are new to this channel and you don't know what my reading tastes are, I read a lot of romance, I read a lot of fantasy and YA, but romance is something that I've really gotten into this year. And I'd heard a lot of things about A Rogue by Any Other Name by Sarah MacLean. She's one of the kind of most famous authors in the genre, and I had not read her. So I started with this book and I read it in about like half a day. I sped through this book. I read it on my Kindle, which I usually read really fast on my Kindle, so that might be why. But honestly, it was so addictive. So this book is about Michael, the Marquess of Bourne, and he's basically been robbed of his inheritance and his land by losing a game of, I think it was cards or something like that. And basically, the land that he is due to inherit is given to his childhood best friend called Penelope, and he has to basically marry her in order to regain his land back. And this sounds like a really kind of basic premise, but the characterization in this novel is so good, and I just fell in love with the characters, especially like the setting, and also this book was really funny, and I think that's something that really makes a Regency romance for me, if there's a bit of humour in there. And Sarah MacLean knows how to write. Oh my god guys, this book was so good. I gave it 5 stars and this is number 10 of all the books I read this year. It was awesome. So if you're a Regency romance fan and haven't read any Sarah MacLean, this is a good place to start. It's the first in this series, so check it out. Number 9 is a book that completely took me by surprise this year, and it is Renegades by Marissa Meyer. So this is a proof copy. This isn't what the finished copy looks like, but I got sent this proof copy from Pan Macmillan and I participated in the booktuber campaign for this book, and I went into this book kind of having mixed expectations. It is basically a superhero novel. And I don't really read a lot of superhero stuff. I'm not even into like Marvel or anything. I haven't watched any Marvel films. Superheroes, you know, could take them or leave them. It is something I want to get into like in 2019, to kind of like watch more superhero films, but anyway, not read any books of that nature. So when this got sent to me, I decided to read it and see kind of what the deal would be, because Marissa Meyer is a really loved author in the YA world especially. She wrote the Cinder series, I think, and that's kind of blown up and is everywhere. I haven't read that yet, unfortunately. Hopefully this year I will. And this book follows a girl called Nova who has grown up hating this kind of band of superheroes called the Renegades. And the Renegades are supposed to be like saving the day and kind of be the celebrated heroes of their city, but Nova knows that they're not like this. They aren't true to their word, they are actually evil people. So Nova is kind of forced to become a fake renegade to kind of bring them down, but then lots of things get in the way. She meets this boy called Adrian who is a renegade, and lots of kind of like plot twists ensue basically. I absolutely loved this book. It was a breath of fresh air and I haven't read anything like this in so long, so I think that's why I really enjoyed it and just really got to grips with it. And the second book came out at the end of last year, I think. I haven't picked that up yet, but hopefully I'll get around to that soon. I'm just, yeah, this book completely surprised me, and I would recommend it to any of you guys who kind of want something that's a bit different. If you fancy some superheroes, it can be a bit cheesy and predictable at times, but I actually just really enjoyed that. Number 8 is a book that's not out yet. I read a book called Heartstopper by Alice Osman in 2018. It's out February 2019. And this book is basically a graphic novel all about these two boys who meet at school. One of them is gay and one doesn't think he's gay but then kind of falls for this boy. And this is just a story of pure joy. So I read this in one sitting. It's really, really small, and this is actually the first volume, so multiple volumes are going to be released. But the first volume is released in February. And guys, I can't even tell you just how joyous this book is. I don't read a lot of graphic novels especially, so I was a bit hesitant going into this, like how will I follow the plot, like how will I get on with the illustrations and stuff like that. But I needn't have worried because there's so much kind of like warmth and just, it was just a joy to behold basically. The illustrations are really great as well, like really, really cool art style by Alice Oseman, and I just adored this. I really, really did. I love like LGBT stories especially. It's just a really great story. So if this does sound intriguing, I will leave a link to it down in the description bar so you can pre-order it or get it when it's out in February. The next book I read in 2018 that I absolutely loved was Hello Stranger by Lisa Kleypas. So Lisa Kleypas, if you're new to this channel, is one of my favourite authors essentially. She is a romance author, historical romance, and all her books are set in the kind of Victorian era and follow sassy women who end up like meeting their match essentially, but all the romance is done so well that it's nothing, it doesn't fall into any tropes. It's really, really feisty and funny, and I love Lisa Kleypas. So Hello Stranger was the latest book in the Ravenel series, which I have talked about. I actually reviewed this earlier on in the year, so what I'll do is, if I've reviewed a book previously, I'll leave those videos down in the description box so you can just click on those and find out my thoughts in detail. But I absolutely love this book. It had everything I wanted to continue the story in it because it is kind of like part of a larger series. It follows one of my favourite characters in the series, who is Dr. Garrett Gibson, and how she works being a doctor in Victorian England, especially as a woman. And there is so much historical detail to this as well, which adds to the romance basically. So it's not like you're reading kind of a one-dimensional romance, you are really reading a historical novel with romance running through it, and it's just perfect escapism. So I would recommend Lisa Kleypas to all of you guys. Even if you think you're not into romance, you will be into Lisa Kleypas's books. Next up is a book that really surprised me in 2018, and it was The Surface Breaks by Louise O'Neill. So I adore Louise O'Neill's writing, and just her in general really. She writes really kind of feminist, very sharp, quite brutal books at times, but just really reflective, that kind of give a sharp look at society. So when I heard that she was rewriting Little Mermaid but from a feminist point of view, I was like, yep, I'm in. You know, there's nothing here that I don't like. So The Surface Breaks follows a young mermaid called Gaia, and it's basically the story of The Little Mermaid, but it focuses more on the Hans Christian Andersen version of the story, not the kind of Disney version. So it is brutal at times. Some of these scenes I just couldn't stomach at times. They were so brutal and so gory and very, very flinching. But what this really does is hold up a mirror to like the male gaze and just society in general, and I feel like everyone should read this book. It sounds silly because it's basically a Little Mermaid retelling, but there are some passages in here which is so important. It kind of like brings up conversations around body image especially, and like fat bodies, and I would recommend that you read this obviously. So this was definitely one of my favourites of 2018. I adored this book. I love Louise's writing as well. Like, that woman can write anything and it'll be good. So yes, I'm a fan. So 2018 was the time when I actually gave in to what the rest of the booktube community was shouting at me to do, and that was to read the Winner's Curse series by Marie Rutkowski. It came out a few years ago now, and I've just not stopped hearing things about it. So I got the final push when I filmed a video with Olwen Hamilton, who's the author of the Rebel of the Sand series. I'll leave that interview down below because she gives some really good kind of book recommendations in there. She basically persuaded me to read this book and give it a go and read the series because she apparently stayed up all night finishing it. So I did what she said, and lo and behold, I adored this book. This is a Roman-inspired fantasy, I guess, and it's basically centred around a society that is based on slavery. So Kestrel is the main character, and she basically buys a slave called Aaron. And what this starts is a massive kind of revolution and uprising, with Aaron kind of having secrets of his own and Kestrel questioning what side she's truly on. And it's a very like military society as well, so it's a really fascinating world, and the world building in this especially is awesome. Now my fourth pick is something a little bit different. This is non-fiction, and this is Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. So this is Dolly Alderton's kind of like memoir on her life growing up. It's basically a coming of age memoir, starting from when she's like still at school and goes all the way up to how old she is now in her late 20s. And this book was so relatable at times, but also like so comforting. And Dolly is a journalist. She worked for the Sunday Times and she's now freelance and has a successful podcast called The High Low, which I would recommend to all of you guys. I'm in love with her. But this book was something else entirely. I adored it, I related to it. I just found myself getting lost in her writing, and she has such a sharp look on dating and love and relationships. So if you're looking for something a bit different, something that's like will kind of take you away from yourself, this is definitely the book to read. I bet you're all thinking, Lucy, where's the Sarah J Maas in this top 10? Well, I am pleased to say that A Court of Frost and Starlight is my third pick of 2018. This is a novella in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, which slots in after the first 3 books and before the next series. But this novella was lovely, charming, everything I wanted, and basically set the series up for the next kind of arc that's coming. So the next arc is going to be about Nestor and Cassian, and this kind of like bridged the gap, so it was perfect. I mean, I've seen a lot of kind of mixed reviews on this. I actually filmed an entire video just on this book reviewing it. Again, link is down below if you want to hear my detailed thoughts. I kind of liked this for what it was. It was just a bridge. It was a novella, and it had everything I wanted to kind of like fill the void in between the last ACOTAR book that came out last year and the next one that's coming out. So of course, A Court of Frost and Starlight had to be in my best books of 2018. Book number 2 has to be What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. So this book, guys, took me by surprise. I had kind of had this on my radar for a while because I knew that I loved Becky Albertalli's books, and I'd not read many of Adam Silvera's, but I knew that together they could write something really special. I just didn't know how special that could be. And What If It's Us is a novel that is so beautiful and so sweet and so pure and funny, and I loved every second of it. I also chaired Adam and Becky's event in Manchester this year. I'll leave a link to the vlog of that down below because I vlogged the day and the event and stuff, so you can kind of see that behind the scenes. It focuses on 2 boys, Arthur and Ben, who meet each other in kind of this like really spontaneous meet cute in the post office, where they just get talking and then they get broken up, and the book is basically how they find each other and if they can maybe get together, if they can maybe make it work. So this book is told from both Ben and Arthur's point of view, and Becky and Adam take each character. So I just adored this in so many ways. These boys just meant so much to me, and they each were just precious. I can't tell you enough that you just need to read this book. Let me just tell you, Adam and Becky's writing is perfect, and they have created something really special here. So if you've not read this yet, please do. So drum roll. What is going to be my number 1 book of 2018? It is Normal People by Sally Rooney. Now, I know a lot of you are probably expecting this first choice to be Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J Maas. I have a confession, I haven't finished that book yet. It is a beast, and I am just struggling in terms of reading at the minute. I'm just in a bit of a reading slump, so disclaimer, haven't finished Kingdom of Ash yet. To be fair, that book probably would have been the number 1 spot because it's my most anticipated book of 2018, but haven't finished it. But let's not detract away from Normal People, because this book has been everywhere this year, especially in the UK. Sally Rooney is quite a new Irish author, and she's been getting a lot of buzz over the last year or so, especially because her first book, Conversations with Friends, was a kind of smash success, and a really kind of like word of mouth success as well. So many people were talking about it, and there was a lot of anticipation for Normal People, which is her second book. Now the premise of this is quite simple. It's about a boy and a girl who meet at school and basically have this kind of secret relationship. At first it's very purely sexual and they keep it quiet and they try not to let anyone know, and then they end up going away to uni together to the same university. They kind of find that they keep getting pulled back together and then drifted apart again, and this basically happens throughout the course of the novel. They get back together, they get pulled apart. And plot-wise, I must say, that's basically it. You follow them throughout their years at university and that's it. So plot-wise not a lot happens, but it's the characterization and the examination of these characters that makes this book so remarkable. Like, I was so lost in this book. And the way Sally Rooney writes is unlike anything I've read before. I mean, she truly just like examines everything and makes you think about things that aren't at first apparent. I don't usually read a lot of like upmarket literary fiction. I would say this is definitely on the more literary side of the scale. It is an adult fiction book, so quite different from the usual YA fantasy that I read. However, this was just so refreshing. It was such a surprise. I didn't expect for it to live up to the hype, but my god, did it live up to the hype and more. So I'd really recommend this. It's an astonishing book, and definitely try and get around to reading this one if you can. It will not disappoint you. So guys, that is my top 10 books of 2018. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know if you agree with any of my choices in the comments below. Let me know what made your list as well, especially like your top book of 2018. I'd love to know what it was. If you're not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button for more bookish videos. I've got loads of stuff planned for this year, and I'll see you very soon in another video. Bye guys!